I'm Jacqueline Johnson.
And I'm Marina Middleton.
And this is Work Party, a podcast that's part work and part party. Work Party celebrates a new generation of women who are redefining the meaning of work on their own terms and having fun while doing it.
In this podcast, we are diving into all the areas of being a working woman: mind, body, and business. No topic is off limit.
Real talk and hot takes. Think of us as your internet work wives. This is Work Party,
the podcast.
Wait, where's the champagne? Welcome back to Work Party. Today we're talking about a major component of life and career planning: fertility. Success is about agency, the power to make big life decisions on our own timelines, whether that's launching your company, traveling the world, deciding whether or not to start a family. And our guest today is helping women take control of that future. We're thrilled to welcome Dr. Catha Fischer, a board-certified reproductive endocrinologist and the medical director at Spring Fertility in New York City. Dr. Fischer is known for combining excellence in clinical outcomes with an unparalleled and compassionate patient experience, which I've experienced firsthand, and that is exactly the ethos of Spring Fertility. So Dr. Fischer, welcome to Work Party. Okay, so Dr. Fischer, we're so excited to talk to you. Like, we were just chatting because we had met a long time ago when I first started my egg freezing journey, of which I still have not completed, which is a problem.
Shock and awe was on my face earlier. Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But our listeners are us, right? They're ambitious women who are used to being proactive about their professional future. And they want to apply that same approach to family goals. Obviously, I think in a lot of cases, people are busy, right?
Yeah.
Like, women are busy, you don't have time, but then you get nervous, you're in your 20s and then you're in your early 30s. Tell us about the proactive fertility knowledge women need to know about.
Okay, so here's an important distinction, which is fertility knowledge and like ovarian reserve, egg freezing are totally separate things. And I feel like we conflate them. Fertility, the challenge with fertility is you don't know if it's a problem until you've tried. And that's really hard, right? The only variable that's really impactful for fertility is, and can you get pregnant when you want to get pregnant, is what are your menstrual cycles like? And this is a problem for a lot of ambitious young women. We have no idea. I made myself young there. I'm in my 40s. But the thing is, you are on contraception. You're on oral birth control pills. You have an IUD. You have no idea what that fifth vital sign is. And that's actually the most critical variable in future pregnancy fertility. So the reason people sometimes blame birth control pills is because it's masking what's going on. So the pills themselves don't do anything. Contraception is actually great. It's that it potentially limits your ability to see what might be happening. So there is no like crystal ball for me to say, what's your fertility? What are we thinking? I can certainly talk about number of eggs, ovarian reserve, but I can't really do any fertility evaluation assessments. When people ask me all the time, like, am I fertile? That's a really, really hard question to answer. So we start talking about like, what can we look into?
So proactively, when do you think people should start thinking about freezing their eggs?
This is going to be a really annoying answer, because the answer is like as soon as you can.
Yes.
And the hard part is fertility preservation. Egg freezing, embryo freezing, unfortunately, is pretty expensive.
Wait, what do you mean as soon as you can?
Like, truly, your egg quality only goes down as we get older. And so when people think like, age is a number, I'm great, total facts, except when it comes to fertility. Egg quality, the only variable that's truly impactful is your age. And in your early 20s and really up until you're like 30 or 29, the quality is pretty fixed. It doesn't necessarily start to change until you enter your 30s, but then the rate of change is super variable. And that's really hard, right? So a woman at 31 could have the egg quality, quote unquote, of a 38-year-old, or a 35-year-old could have the egg quality of a 31-year-old. It is really gray. And so this is where we think, okay, how do we be really proactive? Is do it as soon as possible within reason. So the best time to freeze your eggs is in your late 20s, which is a hard thing for me to say. No one has a slush fund in your late 20s.
Yeah.
But that's like the ideal time. And then the truth is like, when is it too late? It's honestly never too late.
Perfect.
I swear to you, but
You're like, well,
we'll talk later.
Okay,
we'll talk later. But it's more that you have to understand like what is the egg freezing doing for you? Like, what are you freezing in there for? Like, how much you have to freeze to achieve your goals? Because egg freezing is not perfect. There's no guarantee, and you just have to understand what is it. What do you mean if you freeze eggs at 40 versus if you freeze eggs at 29? There's a difference.
Yeah, I think that's important. I don't think a lot of people understand that like it's not a perfect science, and on both ends, on embryos, on eggs, like there's a chance it doesn't work. And so I think that's something that like doesn't, or it doesn't, I mean, you probably could see that. But one of the things I think is really interesting is like a lot of companies now are offering to pay for egg freezing as a perk and a benefit to their employees.
Yeah.
I think if you have a job that does that, do it. Like, I think that's such an incredible incentive. Like unlimited extended vacation or whatever. I think like, especially for like this younger generation, like a lot of my friends, it's funny, I a few friends recently were like, well, actually the company I work for paid for it. And I was like, oh, wow. Like what an incredible benefit.
I totally agree with you, right? If the financial piece is taken out, the answer is like as soon as you can, right? If the financial piece is a part of it, I always say to somebody, I don't want you to like not go on that trip or like not pay your mortgage to do this, but just start like weighing it all. But the benefits are wonderful. And you're right, the more companies are doing it. And it's also, it's good for the companies. You're so much more productive if you feel like you've like checked
Can take the pressure off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's really critical. Medicine is not there yet, but everywhere else.
I just wish that these conversations happened more often while we were younger. Like so I'm 34 now. I had my son when I was 23.
Okay.
And like I laugh. It's like that was the easiest process ever. Like,
Being pregnant?
Like no, like blinked and got pregnant. Like I'm 34 now, and I'm just like, why is this not working? That like it's like in my brain. I'm like, okay, you have sex, you have a baby. My egg is the same. It shouldn't change. You know what I mean? It's just like there's so much education that I feel like and information that is not shared until you're getting older, until you can't get pregnant or you have those questions. And so how can getting a simple fertility assessment today empower someone to live on their own timeline, which I love, like their own timeline?
Yeah. I mean, for me, fertility preservation or like figuring out your fertility as soon as you can is just really about like independence, honestly, right? It's taking charge of something that is truly out of your control. And that's so hard for everybody, but certainly for like ambitious women. And so fertility, as I said, fertility doesn't exist, but what you can figure out is like, what's the quantity of follicles or eggs being released every single cycle? So when you come, everybody should just talk to a fertility specialist, even if you're just in early stages of like, this is what I want my life to be. And what I always do at least is I take a pulse of like, what do you need from me? When do you want to start your family? How many kids do you want? What's really important to you? What's less important to you? And then it's about strategy. So we always do an ultrasound to get a sense of like numbers of follicles. And that is about just quantity, never quality. I think what's important to know, and to your point about getting pregnant when you were younger, and it was easy because your eggs rocked when you were in your 20s. And
They're so good.
And I'm sure they're still so good, to be clear.
The one that came out was so good.
I have a tween, and I don't know that I would say the same thing. I'm in the thick of it. I'm in the thick of it. But I love that for you. So I think it is just really helpful to get a sense of like, what are you working with, quite literally, to understand like, is it reasonable to potentially push a year? I always say no, honestly, but like understanding what your numbers are, what your cycles are like, what your goals are, potentially what your partner's fertility picture is, to the SNEMA analysis, and like kind of take it from there.
Yeah. Can you walk through just like the basics of that procedure too?
Which one? Yes, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
So
I was like, I had no idea. And like, it was really eye-opening when you learn about
do you remember?
Yeah, I feel like I could get this talk as well.
That makes me really happy. So egg freezing, embryo freezing, IVF, everything we do is like a riff on a menstrual cycle. So the first thing that's shocking to everybody is a menstrual cycle only exists to get pregnant. That's it. The only reason every single month your uterus like sheds its tissue is because your brain is saying you failed. Like your ultimate goal of being pregnant, you have failed.
Okay.
So there's no health benefit to that occurring. So if you are not having that because you have an IUD or in your continuous birth control pills, great. You don't need a cycle, right? For our purposes, we essentially, and you don't have to come off pills for any period of time before you do this, but while you're doing egg freezing, you come off the pills. Day one is either like a couple of days into your bleed or just a random start, always an ultrasound. And then you have to take synthetic hormones. And this is the part that's challenging for a lot of people. In a spontaneous cycle, your brain is going to ask the ovaries to release a fixed amount of eggs. The number of eggs that are released is completely correlated to how old you are. So when you're younger, more come out because more are available. As we get older, less are available, so fewer are released. So let's say each cycle the body's putting forward 10. We'll keep the math really easy for me. 10 come out. In a spontaneous cycle, the brain releases hormone and grows 1, and your body reabsorbs 9. So how egg freezing, embryo freezing works is I give enough hormone to grow the excess. But the key here for everyone to understand is it's the excess. I can't make your body release new ones or more. And that's really important to know. So whatever your set point is, that is my set point. So the injections or shots that women take are synthetic versions of that natural hormone. And you're taking those injections ideally for the same period of time that your body grows its spontaneous follicle. So it's truly like a 10 to 12 day sprint because a menstrual cycle on average is about 20 to 30 days. So the follicles are going to grow for 10 to 12 days. You typically do 2 injections a night over that period of time. And you come visit your physician usually 4 to 5 times for an ultrasound and typically blood work. early on, you feel tired because your body's burning way more calories to grow extra follicles. And few of us are thinking to eat more or to sleep more. And then towards the end, you feel full because follicles are literally water-filled sacs. And so you're growing water balloons and you just feel like you've had too much pasta pizza. It's like a heavy, feels a lot like early pregnancy, honestly, where you're exhausted and feel gross. And then it goes away after the egg retrieval, right? But it's truly 10, 12 days of shots, visits to monitor like the follicle growth, hopefully with your physician to talk about like what's going on, how are you feeling? And then the retrieval process is a minimally invasive surgical procedure, but it's a surgery. So like give yourself grace. It takes about 10, 15 minutes. It's done transvaginally. And we talk about where we landed.
Wow.
So it's actually pretty fast. It's really fast.
It's quick, but you have to be available. Like, I think that's the thing that was like always challenging for me because like when we had met and like talking about egg freezing, it was like crinkle day. I was traveling all the time, and I was
LA,
like,
New York, LA, New York. It was
crazy, and I was like, I'd have to like literally put aside because obviously you have to time it to your period and like all these things, and it felt so crazy to me. But like, I mean, I have so much regret. I would say it's like one of the biggest regrets I have not doing it sooner.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's okay.
It's okay. It's going to be fine.
But yeah, it is like, so simple, like once you kind of get it over with. And I think it just creates so much more opportunity. So also though, if you have a partner, talk about embryos. Because I thought this was also something I learned is like embryos are far more stable than eggs.
Correct, because eggs. No, I mean, like she's going to podcast. Correct, because eggs are single cell. So the other thing we need to know is you can't test egg quality. Question I get all the time is, well, are they good? I don't know. Eggs have no tells. They all look perfect.
When do you know? When you implant?
When you make an embryo.
Okay,
so
when you make
an
an
egg
embryo.
is frozen, and then the only way you can test its quality is to put it to work. To say I'm going to place it with sperm, and then what happens?
Okay.
And that's why embryo freezing is more successful depending on your lens. But you lose independence, which is important.
Is this what it means when someone like they're like, I have 50 eggs.
No.
And then it's like, I have 2 embryos.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's what it means. It's
hopefully
like,
not that.
Yeah.
It could be, but yes, because in order to create a pregnancy from a frozen egg, you have to make it into an embryo. So there's no worlds in which we like take an egg and put it back in a body. We say, okay, you froze 20. I'm going to warm 20 eggs, place them with sperm, and then we're going to watch them grow into embryos. And at the embryo stage, it's hundreds of cells. It's actually pretty hardy. And at that stage, you can say, I'm going to take a couple of those cells, analyze them, see if they're chromosomally balanced or like genetically normal, freeze that embryo. And then if that embryo is chromosomally balanced, by itself, it has a chance of pregnancy of about 68, 70%. So it's really powerful versus saying, hey, these 20 eggs, all these assumptions baked into it, I think you have a chance of like 80% of having a child. So embryos are really the final product. The challenge with embryos is it's shared preservation, and that's a big deal, right? So once you make an embryo, that embryo is both yours and the sperm source, if you will. And then how you allocate the embryos, should your plans change, can be really hard.
Right.
And the hard part about that is for women, our fertility drastically changes. For your male partner, not as much. And so even for the most stable, married forever couple, I'm always the asshole that's like, you should.
Put the
I'm like,
eggs on
put the eggs on the side. I always say this.
Totally.
And I get these like crazy looks. I'm like, ladies, please, like just listen to me on this one, because you just, honestly, you just never know. And that is you. You have autonomy and independence, and that's really important. But embryo freezing is shared, and you always will do like an analysis of the sperm before to make sure that there's no flags, essentially. And then an embryo, there's no difference in the cycle to you. It's really just once the eggs come out, what happens? It's like a laboratory difference.
Yeah, the genetic testing was eye-opening too. So you do genetic testing on yourself and your partner and kind of see what matches up in terms of risk.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that.
I'm so proud that you remember all this stuff. By the way,
I'm literally like, I need to freeze my eggs.
No, let's do it together, girl. No, here's the thing, and I will say this: it is an extremely overwhelming process.
Yeah.
I had such a good experience at Spring Fertility. Like, one, it's a beautiful space, which I think is just nice. Like, you go in, it's calming.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're in a frenetic hospital room where you're like, oh my God, there's 1,000 people here, and like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And you walked through everything and I literally was like, I had no idea. And then I found out when we were doing the ultrasound, I had a fibroid, which again would have never had known at that point.
Yeah.
And then I did the genetic testing, learned a ton around that. And so it's just like a very calming experience for a very hectic period of your life. Because it is overwhelming, and medicine, and I've learned so much about this, like just being what I've been going through is like, walking into a space that's calm and gives you the information in a very like calming manner versus like, okay, now you're doing this and now you're moving into this room and you're like, wait, what am I doing? What's happening?
Yeah.
It's such a game changer for women. And so I just think I can't say enough about it. But Marina and I are really excited to be freezing our eggs together.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Maybe I'll join you too. I don't know. I said to my husband, we've been married for a long time and together forever. And I said, maybe I'm going to freeze some eggs. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
why not?
You literally never know. I do this every single day.
I think it's actually so smart. And it was something that we had the conversation about when I was there too. I was like, you're right. Like, you never know. And turns out I got divorced. So
How old were you when you went?
So it was 2021.
We had literally just opened.
Because it was
truly
right after COVID.
We had just opened.
2021, end of 2021. I was here for our Create and Cultivate Summit at Spring Studios. Yeah. I don't know if you went to that one. Did you go to that one?
Yeah,
I think you did go to that one.
That's the one that
So it was right around that time. And then I remember I found out about the fibroid. Was freaked out about that. I went back to go fix it. Then I got divorced. So anyway, neither here nor there. I never got it done, but we need to do this.
We need to do this. We do need to do this. Yeah.
Like, let's talk a little bit about the financial hurdle, which you kind of mentioned, and like how can women work collectively? And do you have a range you can kind of talk about where this cost lies? Because I think like it does feel very opaque when you're going through the process. Like, like insurance can cover it or not cover it, or this can be this, and like when you go online, it's like it can be $5K to $50K, and you're like, whoa, like what is this actually looking like?
Fair enough. Well, first thing to know about insurance is really very few commercial insurances. So like your Cigna, Aetna, the Blues will cover fertility preservation. In states that have mandated coverage for infertility, that may be covered, but that's with a diagnosis of infertility. People don't understand this because it's complicated and purposefully complicated. So most commercial plans will not cover fertility preservation. So then as if your company has a plan like Carrot, Progeny, Maven, there will be a very clear carve out that you know through like HR. And if you have that, as you said, freeze your eggs ASAP.
Yes.
But most insurances, no coverage. And the costs are varied and it's very coastal. So West Coast, East Coast, on average, it's about $10,000. Plus medications are usually between $4,000 and $6,000. So all in, it's around $15,000. So it's a huge lift. Depending on the location and like the clinic, you might be able to have a payment plan. So Spring, we really pride ourselves on that because I don't want anyone to ever not be able to do this because they feel like they don't have 10K in their bank account.
Totally.
I get that, right? And so there's a very clear deduction every single month that we do with like, you know, there's no like interest rate. It's just to like recoup the cost. And I think it's important and you can do it for one cycle. But in the probably Midwest, it's a little bit less money. And then if you're in New York City or LA and you're looking to do egg freezing, you're comparing, let's say 50K to 2K, there's going to be a reason that it's different.
Totally.
And you should look into that because the most important thing is where are you freezing your eggs? The quality of like that lab and the way that they do it is really critical because you have one shot at this and eggs are water. And so anybody can freeze it. But what happens when you go to warm it? Right? You want that egg to deliver on the back end, not the front end.
One thing that also was like eye-opening to me is this: you store them.
Yes.
So talk about the storage fees. And
oh my God.
Yes,
they pay rent.
Home with you.
No, I know. No, you definitely do not. So at the Spring New York, like the storage is in our lab, and that's very purposeful for all the reasons you said, and very candidly, that's our highest liability. Right there, you always read these stories about like tanks failures and all this stuff, and you can't ever like give it back or recoup it. So we keep everything in house with us, and I feel pretty passionate about that for now. There's a lot of the world of fertility. There's a lot of like fringe businesses, and at the moment, it's like offsite storage. And I always say to my patients, "Is but you spent all this time and money doing this. Do you really want to put them somewhere where you can't see them or know about them for years, and then expect them to like deliver the same way? They may or may not, but is it worth that risk?" So. The eggs are stored for as long as you want them to be stored, and their quality doesn't change. That's like the other key, and that's why it's so powerful. Whether you use an egg in 2 years or 15 years, that egg is going to perform the same way.
Interesting.
The challenge is, and this is where it's really important, the longer you wait, the longer like your current egg quality like has to change. And so what always makes me nervous and why I ask people, when do you think you want to start your families? I'm trying to figure out how do I cause the least amount of harm? So if you're 23 and you come to me and say, I want 5 kids, I'm going to start at 40. I want to freeze as many eggs as I possibly can so that at 40, when I warm them, I've mitigated all risk, right? And if things don't go exactly to plan, you're still okay because you've waited until you're 40. And at 40, it's much more challenging. If people are freezing their eggs and are going to try to get pregnant in 6 months, I'm a little bit more laid back, right? I'm like, well, we'll find out in 6 months if you need me. We'll warm the eggs and we'll go from there, right? So the duration between like like when you freeze them, when you want to use them is also an important part of like the strategy of how many eggs you freeze.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the bottom line of what I'm hearing too is that you are just providing women with options, which obviously really resonates with me as like I build my career and like decisions change and feelings change and body changes and life changes and all this stuff. And so if you could distill the benefit of freezing your eggs down to one powerful concept, what would that be?
I really think it's independence. It really is the ability to feel like I took care of this thing that's critical to me and now I can do whatever the heck I want. And but to do that, we have to know that it's not a guarantee, and you have to talk through what are the numbers? What do you want? Some women will do this once and feel really comfortable with 10. I had a patient do it 7 times and freeze 70. Yeah. She needed that. And it's like, okay, we're fine, right? You can have that. We can do that because you can always freeze as many as you want. It's how many cycles you have to get to achieve that. That's the thing about it as we get older. But I really think fertility preservation is all about being able to protect the thing that you have very little control over, and that allows you to really do it and achieve whatever you want.
I love it so much. So where can everyone learn more about Spring Fertility?
Oh, Jesus. I'm terrible at this. Okay. There's certainly a website, but we also actually give like info sessions. So we give free info sessions on both egg freezing and IVF and embryo freezing, basically like once a month, where one of the physicians will sit on a Zoom and like answer all these questions and go through everything. Basically our consult, but just like online. And then of course, any of our centers, we are on the West Coast and we have an office in New York City and actually now Long Island as well.
Oh, nice.
And we often just talk to people about like, how can we help? What do you want? You don't have to know what you need to come talk to us. And very, very often you find out some stuff and then you can make plans.
It's worth just going in for the initial session too, no matter what age or stage you're at. I think it's just, information is power. So I think that's amazing.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Work Party. If you like what you heard, follow, leave a review, rate the pod, or slide into our DMs.
Check out the different ways you can create and cultivate on our website, createcultivate.com. From retreats and masterminds to our summits and festival.
We have different experiences to support you through your entrepreneurial journey from launch
to legacy.
Follow us at Create Cultivate on all platforms. And don't forget, work hard.
Party on.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.